comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah, here comes the, here comes the.
Yo, what is going on, YouTube? What's going on, everybody? Man, hope everybody is enjoying the sun and having a lovely, very, very blessed day. For those of you guys that are new here, I'm your host, Calvin-Domingo, aka Steezy Smith. And I apologize for the delay. I know this was scheduled about an hour ago, but I just got home recently. And so I hope you guys forgive me. But to the chat, to everybody that's out there that's been waiting patiently, thank you guys so much. And as always, I do want to extend a very heartfelt thank you for the support. I always see the same people in the chat, and just seeing you guys pop in here each and every single week, every time I go live, I mean, it means a lot more than you know. So without further ado, I'm just going to hop straight into it. Obviously, and I'm going to address you guys here first, but we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, if you guys have been living under a rock or haven't been paying attention, perhaps you're just now getting home from work, the Seahawks have finally, along with the rest of the NFL, have finally released their official schedules for the 2024 season. And we're going to talk about it tonight. On this show, we're going to break it down. I'm going to bring you guys some instant reactions, some of my takeaways. I want to hear some of your guys' reactions, early record predictions, notes, and whatnot. But, man, I'm happy to be here. Hope you guys, again, are enjoying the day. And thanks for spending some time with me, for real. We got Sajin here in the building saying, what's good? What's good, Sajin? I know this message was from about an hour ago, so I don't know if he's still here. But, Sajin, I just want to let you know I still haven't forgotten your hat. I'm still in the process of putting that together. So just kind of wanted to give you an update there. We got Tyler Morano in the building. What's up, man? My prediction is 13-4, but it could be based on the plays I see week 1 and 2. 13-4 is very, very optimistic. I'm not nearly as optimistic. I mean, I do believe that the Seahawks will pose as a threat, right? I think that every team that they play against, the opposing team is not going to want to play against the Seahawks. Right? I think the Seahawks are going to be one of those teams that are going to be feisty, that are going to be in every single game. This isn't a team that I envision getting blown out whatsoever. Yeah, maybe in the first couple of weeks of the season, perhaps in the first month of the season. Week 3, I believe, is the first real test. I know the Miami Dolphins haven't been legitimate contenders, but that offense is damn sure legitimate. And so I think that's going to be the first real test that the Seahawks do have. But 13-4, does that mean, Tyler, do you have the Seahawks winning the NFC West? Because, I mean, at 13-4, again, like I said, that's very, very optimistic. But, I like the positive vibes and the energy. And, shoot, the Seahawks go 13-4, man, talk about overachieving. But, Tyler, I appreciate you for taking the time to join us tonight. Always lovely seeing you here. We got Deshaun Baker also in the building. Steezy Smith, my guy. Deshaun Baker, also my guy. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for always showing love. Deshaun Baker, I think you're firmly entrenched in the Team Steezy family, and just seeing you here every week as well. It's always a pleasure. So thanks for tuning in, Deshaun. We got Kale Lively also in the building. This count is missing Tom Grossi. I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple of years ago, I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Tom Grossi, and to see him honored as the NFL Fan of the Year just a couple of months ago, man, I wouldn't even call that a culmination of all the work that he's put in with the last 8, 9, 10 years. And so for him to have reached out to me and to work with me, to have wanted to work with me a couple of years ago. I don't know if you guys had a chance to tune in and watch that. If you haven't, let me know in the comments, and I would love to send over that collaboration stream that we had. I happened to be in Hawaii at the time, and man, that was amazing. It was such a pleasure working with him and just seeing the following that he's established since then. I mean, when I first worked with him, he was at about 225K, and fast forward a couple of years later, he's over here closing in on $1 million. And so to see what he's been doing, I mean, he's truly an inspiration to us all. And Kale, I appreciate you for bringing him up. And also, thank you for tuning in. It's always great seeing you here. And then Tyler also saying, what's good, Steezy? We got the Seahawks Nation in the building. Hey, Steezy, it's me, Zayd. How are you doing? I'm feeling amazing. I'm feeling great. The sun is out. And it's just another beautiful day here in the Pacific Northwest. And as per usual, I love doing this. I love engaging with you guys, interacting with you guys, and just talking and breaking down Seahawks football, right? Like there was big news today, and for me to be able to just chop it up with you guys and we're going back and forth or whatnot. I'm having an amazing time. But Zayd, it's always great seeing you here, and thanks for always tuning in. We should collab. We most definitely will, and we most definitely should. Kale is saying, man is always looking dapper. Hey, man, I try to take this as seriously as I possibly can. And, why not look the part, right? So, but Kale, I appreciate you for observing and for pointing that out. Thank you. The Seahawks, Zayd is saying we about to win the Super Bowl. Again, I think that's very, very optimistic. I don't think it happens this year, but come 2026, I did drop a video about this a couple of weeks ago. 2026 could be a big year, not just for the Seahawks, but in Seattle sports in general, right? We got the Kraken. I know the Kraken kind of took a step back this year, but there's still a plethora of young talent. The Mariners are on the upswing. The Seahawks are also on the upswing. The Seattle Storm, obviously the season started last night, not off to the greatest of starts, but I believe the future is still as bright over there. The Seattle Reign, also, again, it's been a struggle this year, but I think that's another team with a bright future. The World Cup coming to Seattle. I could go on and on. The Seattle Supersonics could be a thing by then. And so 2026, I think, is a year to kind of be on the lookout for. But Zayd, I don't think it's too far off. We got Jackie here in the building saying, good evening, Steezy. Going to be missing. Okay, visiting you at work tomorrow. Okay. Okay. Well, hi, Jackie. Hope you're having a great night. Thanks for tuning in. Always happy seeing you here. We got the KC Sports Nerd. I haven't seen you here in a while. What's good, man? How are you doing, KC Sports Nerd? I feel like last time I saw you on a stream was back during the NorbCan days. And so, man, I'm doing well. I'm doing amazing. I'm feeling blessed. I hope you're feeling the same way. Man, long time no see. Long time no talk. Yes, sir. And then Jackie is saying going into surgery early tomorrow morning. Well, Jackie, best of luck to you. I hope that the surgery goes well. Hope there's no complications whatsoever, and you got this. Enjoying this video. Well, thank you. We got Robert Stevens also joining us here. What up, Steezy and company? Storms as usual for later tonight. Whew. I don't know if Robert, are you talking about the Seattle Storm, or are we talking about a different storm here? Well, always happy to see you here, Robert. Thank you. We got the GMM Network, man. What's going on, big brother? He said, "What's good, my bro?" Hey, Bogart, man. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing wonderful, bro. I did get a chance to listen to some of the songs that you sent me, and I just forgot to get back to you. But man, I hope you're doing well. I hope all is well, and it's always love over here. We definitely got to collaborate and definitely got to work again soon. But happy to see you in the stream, man. I'm real glad to see you here. Thank you. We got Daquan Ingram also in the building saying, what's up, family? I'm super excited for the season. I have us at 10-7 or 11-6. I think that's also optimistic. I'm not nearly as high this coming season, but you're not too far off, Daquan, from my personal predictions. I will touch on that towards the bottom or the end of the show. But Daquan, what up, man? What up? Tyler here is saying, I do believe that they will be NFC Championship contenders. You know what? If you were right about that, Tyler, I would not complain whatsoever. I really wouldn't. We got Zayd here saying you should watch some cricket. Yeah, I'm trying to watch and I'm trying to learn about any and every sport, right? And so cricket is definitely on my list. And Zayd, I appreciate the suggestion. We'll definitely get to that. KC Sports Nerd getting back to me saying doing good, feeling blessed. Just graduated high school. Hey, congratulations, KC Sports. Oh man, you guys are getting older, man. You guys are growing up right before my eyes, and seeing you and Martin. I saw his homecoming pictures. I think those were prom pictures a couple of months ago. Oh no, that was earlier this month, right? Just seeing that. I mean, you, KC Sports Nerd, Seahawks Martin. We got Golden Seahawk. Sky High Aviation, just seeing you guys grow up. I mean, time flies, right? Time really, really flies. And KC Sports Nerd, congratulations on graduating high school. best of luck to you in your future endeavors. And I can't wait to see where you go in life. Truly. I'm happy to see you here. And man, let's have a great show, man. Let's have a great show. We got Nah Chief in the building saying, what's up, Steezy? What's up, Nah Chief? I think I missed you on the last stream, but Nah Chief, I just want to let you know, I do have your shirt ready. It is ready to go. It is ready to be shipped. And so get back to me on Instagram or send me a message on Instagram whenever you have a chance. Send me your address and I'll make sure you get your shirt as soon as possible. But always happy to see you here, Nah Chief. Definitely one of my OG supporters and fans. And man, I got a lot of love for you, man. Thank you. We got Gilbert here also in the building saying, I was walking around school and this girl says Steezy is daddy. Oh, man, injected some humor on this Wednesday night. Gilbert, man, that's crazy. But I honestly don't know what to say to that. I will say this. Reach out to me. I got an Instagram. I got a Twitter. I got a Facebook. I got a Snapchat. Reach out to me. That's all I gotta say, man. But Robert here is clarifying my question from earlier, and it is getting hot. I don't know if y'all can see the sweat on my forehead, but don't mind that. Don't mind that. Robert is saying regular thunderstorms. I forgot, Robert, you're over there in Oklahoma, and so you guys got to deal with the thunderstorms and whatnot. Robert, I just want to say, stay safe and keep being you. Okay, 95 North Falcons talk show. My brother, man, Steezy, we got a matchup this year. We got a collab, fam. My good brother, hey, you already know it, bro. I see the work that you've been putting in for Bleacher Report on your own channel. You've been working with Unc. Man, keep doing what you do, bro. Keep chasing greatness. Keep putting out some of the best Atlanta Falcons content that I be seeing out there, and we will work, bro. You can almost guarantee that. I'm happy to see you here, though, my good brother. Hope you're doing well. I hope you've been living, and, man, keep doing your thing, man. I'm happy to see you here, for real. GMM Network, my brother, 100%. We got to collaborate again soon, and, of course, I had to pull up when I saw my boy was live. Hey, man, a lot of gratitude, nothing but love, bro, and I would love to work soon, for real. Come on. I like Sam Howell to eventually take that job from Geno this season. Okay, that's a bold take. I mean, look, I think Sam Howell is the future for the Seattle Seahawks at quarterback. But to be quite frank, I'm not sure I want it to happen this season. 2025 and beyond, we'll see what happens with Geno Smith's contract situation. But I do like it for the future, just not this year. We could agree to disagree, though. But I appreciate the comment. Zayd here, okay, with a very popular sentiment among 12s. DK about to reach his full potential with Grubb's offense. Right, and if you guys play fantasy, if you play Dynasty, DK Metcalf, I think, is going to be a steal relative to where he's being drafted. I know it's a little bit early to be, thinking about fantasy, but if you play in Dynasty, Dynasty is all year round. And so, again, to all not just to everybody here in the chat, to everybody that ends up viewing the replay, DK Metcalf, definitely a guy to target in the middle rounds. I think he's not only going to fulfill his full potential within that new offense, I think he's going to just be a top 5 receiver statistically. I mean, he's always had that in him, the talent. Everything's been there. And so if you guys kind of look at what's transpired in Seattle here the last couple of years, last in snaps played these last couple of seasons, I mean, that's just not very conducive to winning football games. And when the offense just doesn't have an opportunity, doesn't have a chance to possess the ball as much as other offenses around the league, I mean, chances are you're not going to be putting up back-breaking numbers, right? And so, Zayd, I think you bring up a great point here. And, man, say it louder for the people in the back. Not Chief saying here, bet, bro. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Big 17 today. Hey, happiest of birthdays. Man, you could be celebrating, but you over here in the chat turning up and celebrating with us, Not Chief. Man, that means a lot, man. That means a lot. Not Chief. Again, happiest of birthdays to you. The Big 17. More life, more blessings, and more birthdays to come. Thanks for celebrating your birthday here with us. I mean, even if you're not here for the full stream, man, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Not Chief. And Chad, if you guys could do me a solid here, Not Chief is definitely one of my favorite supporters and followers. If you guys could wish him a happy 17th birthday, that would make my night as well. Not Chief, though. Thank you for tuning in and for celebrating with us. Man, I hope you get everything you deserve today. Man, for real. We got Devo here also in the building saying, what's up, Steezy? What's up, Devo? Man, I'm happy to see you here in the building. Always a pleasure. And let's have a great show, shall we? My brother here saying, appreciate you, Steezy, and likewise, keep grinding this fantastic Seahawks content. Man, that's a lot of love, bro. Really, truly. Nothing but gratitude, bro. And, hit me up soon, bro. And I know we got each other on Twitter, and so let's definitely chop it up. And, man, it don't even got to be about Seahawks. It could be anything NFL. I like to cover and I like to talk about other teams, not just the Seahawks. And so, whenever you need somebody to, I guess, fill in or and whatnot, shoot, give me a holler, brother. But for real, I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. Keep being you and keep spreading nothing but love and positivity, man. I see what you're doing, though, for real. Deshaun Baker here saying 95 North Falcons talk show. I need good tickets to the Seahawks versus Falcons game. Hey, well, he's your guy. If it's not him, then it's Unc, Antoine Smitty Smith. But those two are the best Falcon content creators out there. You heard it here first. Deshaun, you're definitely hitting up the right guy. And we got my guy Austin here in the building. Shout out to my guy Austin for the thumbnail real quick. In case you guys haven't had a chance to see it, I just want to give you guys a chance real quick to peep his work. Shout out to Austin right here for that thumbnail. Man, what a thing of beauty. I'm going to remove myself for just a shout out to Austin, man. I'm loving these thumbnails, man. I'm loving these thumbnails, bro. Thank you. And thank you for tuning in as well, brother, for real. GMM Network here saying DK Metcalf in his entire career has never been less than 4 red zone targets, and that usually translates into touchdowns. I like the value we're getting with this year. Hey, Bogart, you're 1,000% spot on. I mean, I don't know if it was last year, but the season prior to that, the efficiency in the red zone was awful. And the Seahawks offense as a whole has just been awful in the red zone. And obviously DK has suffered in fantasy because of that. But if Ryan Grubb's able to come in and do what he's been doing over at UW these last couple of years, I'm not expecting them to field an offense that's number one, right, in the entire nation, or in this case, in the entire NFL. But if the Seahawks can take a step forward, I think that'll go a long way towards DK Metcalf finally becoming that wide receiver one that we all envisioned him becoming for the rest of his career after that career year back in 2020. Yes, that was with Russell Wilson at the helm, but DK is capable of so much more. And again, with the Seahawks having lacked opportunity offensively, I mean, that's not entirely on him. But GMM Network, you know what they say, great minds think alike, and I think we're thinking alike right now. Jaws got to sneak a microphone near John Schneider and Penix when we visit the Atlanta Falcons this year. We got Jaws in the building. Jaws, hope you're having a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Always happy to see you here as well. And I think you make a great point. I mean, if you guys heard, there were a lot of reports after the draft that the Seahawks were interested in trading up for Michael Penix. And so we'll see what happens there. I'm not saying this is true. This is something that, I don't know, I guess I made up. What if the Falcons don't intend to make Michael Penix a franchise quarterback and intend to instead use him as trade bait? Let's say Kirk Cousins has to miss a game or two and Michael Penix shows out. I don't know. Maybe they decide to trade him for a king's ransom. We'll see. But Jaws, I see what you're trying to say. And we got Bogart here shouting out the birthday boy. Happy birthday and congratulations to the kid graduating. Big day. Man, Bogart here showing love to the little homies, man. That's what it's all about. All about the next generation, inspiring the youth. And, man, you guys over here just graduating high school and celebrating your 17th birthday, and y'all are choosing to be on the stream and to be in the chat, tuning in. That means a lot, man. That really, really means a lot. Nah, Chief, thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Now, we appreciate you. We appreciate you for showing up. Zayd here saying you should try Pakistani food. Well, I love all food, right? I love food of all backgrounds. I'm real big into just trying out different cuisines, and I love eating. So, yeah, one of these days, Zayd, most definitely. We got Jazz here also showing some birthday love. Man, I appreciate you guys for doing this. Really. Looking forward to that Falcons game. Hopefully, I can go support my Hawks. Hey, now, Chief, just stay safe. Being a Seahawks fan in Atlanta, I know there's not very many of you, so just stay safe. Deshaun Baker, fake news, just like the DK news. Shake my head. Oh, okay, so the Michael Penix trade up rumors were fake news. All right, shoot. If you say so. Okay. I get scratch everything I just said, right? We got Devo here hollering at the GMM network. Not Chief is saying, been watching you since I was like 13, bro. Always gonna support you, Steezy. Oh man. Oh man. We getting sentimental. Man. And this is why you've earned yourself a shirt, not Chief. Really. Hey, I can't wait for you to rock that shirt. I know you said you've been hitting the gym yourself. And so, man, once you get this shirt, once you get the shirt, as soon as you hit the gym, rock that tee. I'll be there with you in spirit. The support means more than you know, though, truly. And not Chief. I'm at a loss for words, but again, thanks for celebrating your birthday with us. And I hope you turned up, man. For real. We got Sports PSP in the building, man. What's going on, bro? D? He's asking thoughts on the NBA playoffs, my guy. As you guys might or might not know, basketball was my first love, right? Basketball was my first sport. And I remember even when I first started this channel, I was covering more NBA than I was Seahawks and NFL. But because of the success that I had in covering the Seahawks and then putting out Seahawks content, I instead pivoted towards, more so covering the Seahawks and the NFL. But I say all that to say that I'm still, and I'll always be an NBA guy at heart. And man, PSP, of course, I've been tuned in. I think just to kind of keep it short and simple, I think the Denver Nuggets are going back to the NBA Finals. I think the Boston Celtics will be their opponent in the NBA Finals. It's real sad to see Minnesota kind of crumbling like they have. They went up 2-0 against the Denver Nuggets, have since dropped 3 straight, and I believe that will be 4 straight. But at the same time, I had Denver winning this series the whole time. Even when Minnesota went up 2-0, I still had Denver coming out in 7, and this is why they're the defending champions, right? They go through adversity, but they get through it. And so a lot of people gave up on them, but to see what they're doing, Nikola Jokic, I agree with Shaq. I don't think that Jokic should have won MVP this year. I think it should have been Shea or Luka, but Jokic is the best player in basketball. I will say that. And as far as the East, Boston, they kind of have it easy this year, right? The Cleveland Cavaliers were missing too many guys today. Spider, Jared Allen, I think he didn't play the entirety of the series. Karis LeVert. Boston just has far too much firepower for Cleveland to be missing 3 guys that are playing significant minutes. And so, but as far as the Knicks and the Pacers, Jalen Brunson, he really is that dude. But he was doing this alongside Luka when he was with the Dallas Mavericks. And I was advocating for the Dallas Mavericks to pay a Jalen Brunson. Now, much to the chagrin, right, of the Dallas Mavericks and the fan base, they didn't, and now he's balling out for the Knicks. Yes, Kyrie Irving is still that dude. Yes, Kyrie Irving is still one of the very best guards in all the National Basketball Association. But right now, I think there's an argument to be made that Jalen Brunson could be an upgrade over a Kyrie Irving. But that's neither here nor there. PSP, if you have any questions specific to that topic that you'd like me to kind of touch on a little bit more, you let me know. But I think right now, if I'm going to give you an early finals prediction, it's going to be the Denver Nuggets versus the Boston Celtics. I'm not going to tell you who comes out on top. We'll say that for a different show, but I appreciate the question, and I appreciate you for tuning in. Not Chief is saying, I got you, boss. Man, salute. Deshaun is saying sad about my Heat. You're talking about our Heats. That's our Heat. But again, I wasn't thrown off. No Jimmy Butler. Who else was no Terry Rozier? It just wasn't going to happen this year. But I do believe that the Miami Heat will make it every effort that they possibly can. They should explore every avenue to acquire another star. Obviously, they had to bring back and keep Jimmy Butler happy, right? He is seeking an extension. And so I hope that Miami can lock him up for the long haul. And then you can kind of focus on bringing in a third star to complement both him and Bam Adebayo. But next year, I think next year will be, or this offseason at least, will be very pivotal for the Miami Heat because I think that'll determine the direction that this team will go in the next 3, 4, or 5 years. But Deshaun, we're both Heat fans, so I feel your pain. Okay, last comment that I'll address here before we touch on the show. We've been live for almost 30 minutes, and I've yet to touch on anything Seahawks schedule related. But Sports PSP is asking thoughts on Jared Goff's deal. Look, it's just the nature of the quarterback market. Is Jared Goff, and I'm going to put this bluntly, is Jared Goff the second best quarterback in all of football? No. And the reason why I posted like that is because he is now the second highest paid quarterback in all the National Football League, just after Joe Burrow, if we're considering or if we're taking average annual value into account. At $53 million, oh my gosh, that is most definitely overkill. A little bit of an overpay, but again, this is the reality of the market today. Quarterbacks, especially if you're an above average quarterback, and if you're putting up numbers and if your team is winning, you're just going to get paid. It doesn't matter where you stand as far as the quarterback hierarchy across the NFL. And so that's not meant as a shot or any sort of disrespect at a Jared Goff. Again, I think it's more so the nature of the market, but $53 million is, oh my goodness, that is a lot of money. And so we have to hope that in the next year or so, Detroit wins a Super Bowl. If not, I mean, I don't know if that deal is going to age well. I really don't. They did lose a piece in Jonah Jackson, a Pro Bowl guard in Jonah Jackson to the Rams. Yes, they brought in a Kevin Zeitler. He is a little older, though. And so I think this team's window is now. If they don't win a Super Bowl here in the next year or two, this deal is going to age poorly. But, I say all that to say that I'm happy about Jared Goff getting paid. After the year that he put up last year, he definitely deserved a payday. But, again, to be quite frank with y'all, now the second highest paid quarterback in all of football, I understand whoever gets paid next is presumably going to surpass Jared Goff on that list. But again, it's just the nature of the market, right? And so again, I keep saying that. I hope he is able to lead this team to a lot of success. Because if it's not the Seahawks representing the NFC in the Super Bowl anytime here in the next year or so, I'll be rooting for Detroit. So there's that. Alas, though, like we all have been waiting for, we are here to talk about our instant reactions, our takeaways to the 2024 NFL schedule finally being released. I know that there were a bunch of leaks throughout the week, right? And so a lot of this isn't necessarily or particularly news to us, but now that the official schedule is out, I just want to say that I think the Seahawks social media team, man, they do a wonderful job. And I'm not just saying that because I cover the Seahawks. They do a phenomenal job. I mean, even if I wasn't a Seahawks fan, I'd find myself very entertained and amused by the sort of content that they put out. And for them to kind of depict let's not say that, but for them to depict different Seahawks as superheroes that they've selected and to kind of use them in these schedule themed related posts for every opponent, for every week, I thought that was real cool. I thought that was real fire. If you guys don't know what I'm referring to, whenever you have a chance, just look up the Seahawks on Instagram or on X, and you'll see just what I'm talking about. It started off with week 1. I think it was Draymond Jones, and they were reenacting something from Dragon Ball Z. I guess Draymond Jones is a big Dragon Ball Z fan. If you guys know me, I'm a big Dragon Ball fan myself. But just to kind of see that, to kind of kick things off, I was just like, yo, it's only going to get better. And boy, did it, right? And so if you guys, again, haven't had a chance to check that out, check out the Seahawks on Instagram or on X, and let's talk about it. And then real quick here, just to kind of address some, what's the word? Some housekeeping, right? That took a while there. If you guys aren't already, man, follow me on Instagram at SteezySmithTV if you aren't already. And as I like to do every single week, I'll enter your name into a drawing to win free Team Steezy merch. As per usual, I will write your name live on screen. Not this sticky note, on another sticky note, of course. I got a whole stack right here. So if you guys haven't followed me, or if you guys aren't following me already, I do post on there daily. So for you to never miss any sort of content from me whatsoever, follow me on Instagram at SteezySmithTV. And if you just followed me on Instagram, type just followed you in the chat, and I'll be sure to write your name down live on screen to make sure your entry is in for the drawing. Last but certainly not least, and this is kind of a two-parter here, y'all, please hit that notification bell so you don't ever miss a live show on this channel. I always say this, but I'm subscribed to a bunch of different content creators on YouTube myself, and every time I go to their channels just to kind of tune in and watch things, I'm like, yo, I missed that show. I missed that show. I didn't see that show. Oh, they dropped? And so you guys don't make that same mistake with me. Hit that notification bell so you don't ever miss a live show. It doesn't even have to be a live, just a drop, right? Because like I told you guys, like I promised you guys, once the NFL regular season comes around later this year, I will go back to dropping regular long form content. It might not be the same as it was in the past, but I will be going back to dropping long form content on top of the shorts, on top of the live streams, on top of the live collaborations, and on top of all the other things that I do. Hit that notification bell so you don't ever miss a drop. Please and thank you. And like I said, that was a two-parter, so I just want to say this before we do kick things off. All super chats are greatly appreciated. And in regards to super chats, whoever finishes tonight with the highest donation total will win a free embroidered Team Steezy tee or cap. And if your donation total surpasses $20, I'll show you at the end if we end up getting there. You win a free one-of-one exclusive Team Steezy cap that I have not yet released. Now that we've taken care of that, let's commence, shall we? I just want to start off with this quick fun fact here, and this is via Seattle Sports. Hat tip, Seattle Sports. In terms of opponent win percentage from last season, the Seahawks' 2024 schedule ranks as the 24th hardest in the NFL, which I think is a sign of relief. Maybe not necessarily for the players themselves, because I don't think that the players necessarily look at it like that, but from a fan perspective, from somebody that obviously has grown up a Seahawk fan, I'm accustomed to seeing the Seattle Seahawks having tough schedules, right? And as we all remember, last year was one heck of a gauntlet towards the latter portion of the season. It was 4 weeks in a row in which the Seahawks were having to go up against the Cowboys and then the Eagles and then the Niners and then the Rams. And it was a Thursday night game and then a Sunday night game. And then there was, I think, a Monday night game. Maybe it wasn't that verbatim, right? But I think you guys understand what I'm trying to get at here. And just to kind of see Seattle endure that, it was hard. It was hard. It was definitely difficult. And so to hear that the Seahawks had the 24th hardest schedule in the NFL, I think that's somewhat of a sign of relief. I don't think it's everything. Obviously, teams have improved. Some teams have gotten worse. Some teams have stayed somewhere along the middle of the pack. And so I just thought that this was interesting. I thought I'd share it with you guys. I think, again, it is a sigh of relief. It's a little different than what Seahawks fans have gotten accustomed to these last couple of years. But, man, 24th hardest in the NFL in the year one of the Mike Macdonald era? Shoot, we'll take it. You guys have probably seen this by now. But the Seahawks have four primetime games this season compared to just 2 from last year, but 3 if you include Thanksgiving. All Thanksgiving games are prime time, and I guess maybe it's not the right thing to do to not count that as a prime time game, but I'm going to just keep it at 2. I did want to include the 3 there just in case you guys are wanting to count that as a primetime game, but just to see that the Seahawks have 4 primetime games this year, I think that's a sign of respect, right? I think the NFL is wanting to highlight, the Seahawks maybe a little bit more. Obviously, Mike Macdonald is coming over from the Baltimore Ravens, and the sort of stability and this aura around him that he has, right? As a defensive, as an innovative, as a creative genius on the defensive side of the ball, the defensive Sean McVay, right? I think that this also shows that the NFL has faith in a Mike Macdonald to kind of bring the Seahawks back to not just relevancy, because obviously the Seahawks have been relevant, but into championship contention, right? Into the conversation. Again, I don't think it happens this year, but I think in the next year or so after this year, the Seahawks will become contenders. They'll be a force to be reckoned with. They'll be deadly. So shout out to the NFL for awarding the Seahawks 4 primetime games. I know a lot of media outlets, I know a lot of pundits, I know even a lot of fans, non-Seahawks fans, are predicting that the Seahawks won't even make the playoffs. And so a non-playoff team having 4 primetime games, I think that's dope. Again, I think that this team is going to be a team that nobody wants to play against. I think that this team is going to overachieve just a little bit. I think that this team is going to be one of those teams that are feisty and that give teams a run for their money even when they shouldn't. And so 4 primetime games, it gives Seattle an opportunity to kind of put their talents and to show everybody what they're made of in the national spotlight, and I'm here for it. Another thing that I'm here for, a Week 10 bye. I think this is absolutely perfect. If I recall correctly, and man, I'm starting to sweat profusely here. Don't mind that, you guys. A Week 5 bye last year was just awful. Ideally, you want to have a bye that's later in the season, especially now with the season being a little bit longer, right? You'd prefer a bye towards the end of the year just because after you played about half the year, then to have a 1 week vacation, right, in a way, or just to have 1 week off, I think that's absolutely perfect. And so, again, I know you guys have probably seen this by now. It's obvious, right? The Seahawks have a week 10 bye, but I think that this is such a far cry from how the schedule makers did Seattle last year. Again, we talked about the gauntlet. We talked about the early bye. We talked about the strength of schedule. And so I think the schedule makers were a little bit more generous this year. And again, I think that this indicates a sign of belief in a Mike Macdonald, despite being a first-year head coach in the National Football League. The NFL definitely did Seattle a favor this year. Whether or not it was intentional, that I don't know. But the intentions don't even matter at this point. We'll take it. Week 10 bye, though. I like that. How the Seahawks are starting off the season. I like that. 4 prime time games. I like that. Seattle being a playoff team this year. Not in love with it. But if it were to happen, I would like that as well. But real quick, though, you guys, before we continue along here, I do have a few more takeaways that I want to get to before we break down each and every single game of that 2024 slate. What were your guys' initial thoughts, reactions, takeaways, anything that jumped out to you? And don't be shy, though. I know some of you guys get shy here once we start getting into the meat of the show. And so don't be shy, y'all. I want to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions. You know, this isn't just me talking. This is me talking to y'all. And for me to talk to y'all, y'all got to talk to me. So let's hear it. I want to hear what you guys have to say. This is a little older here, but while I wait for you guys to kind of get back at me, I'm going to read Kale Lively's chat message here. My family is from Detroit. They are going to build a statue to Goff if he gets them to the Super Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm sure that they wouldn't be the only family to do so. I know how Detroit fans get, and I think that they have a stake to claim as it pertains to having one of the best fan bases in all of football. I think they're up there with the 12th man. I think that they're up there with Bills Mafia. I think they're up there with Chiefs Kingdom. And yeah, Kale, I mean, I think you bring up a great point. And honestly, I wouldn't put it past them to do so, as I think a lot of families would definitely do something similar in Detroit. But if Jared Goff were to do that, oh yeah, he becomes an instant legend. And we might hear a lot more cries for him being a Hall of Famer if that were to happen. Kale Lively is saying we have a good couple first games to get our bearings. Well, on that note, I just want to include this real quick because the Seahawks got blessed to open the season as they get to face 2 rookie quarterbacks in a row, in Bo Nix and Drake May, respectively. Now, it could be Jacoby Brissett, so I do want to preface that Drake May comment by saying that it could be Jacoby Brissett instead starting for the New England Patriots. Drake May is raw, so we don't know if he's going to be starting week 1. I do know that he'll make a couple of starts, if not a bunch of starts, his rookie year. But as far as him starting week 1, I think it's far from a lock. And so, Kale, to your point, once again, I'm going to bring this back up. The Seahawks got blessed. Bo Nix and then Drake May. And even if we take the quarterbacks out of the equation, the Denver Broncos are going to be one of the worst teams in football this year. It doesn't matter how you slice it. Yes, Sean Payton is there. Yes, Sean Payton has plenty of time to prep against a rookie head coach in a Mike Macdonald. So, yeah, maybe that's not the best of things or all things considered, right? But it's like the Denver Broncos expected to be one of the worst teams in football. And for the second time in 3 years, the Seahawks are starting off at home against the Denver Broncos. I expect a similar result. Maybe not a game nearly as close. I don't expect it to be a 17-16 thriller. But, yo, Denver and then New England, who I also believe is on track to finish with a top 3 record a top 3 worst record in all of football come 2025. They're on the fast track to doing something like that because they just are still lacking in a lot of departments. And yes, this team is young. And so I'm not over here trying to bash them. It's just the nature of where they stand as a team. It's a first time, a new head coach in a Gerard Mayo. You have a rookie quarterback that's as raw as it gets, and a Drake May. Jacoby Brissett, like I just alluded to, could be the week 1 starter. I'm not Ramondre Stevenson is coming off an injury-plagued year, and so we'll see what happens there. But I'm still not in love with the receiving core. I'm still not in love with the offensive line, and we'll see if the defense can sustain its greatness now that Bill Belichick is gone. I have high hopes for Gerard Mayo. He was once a stellar linebacker in the NFL himself, but again, it's going to take time for this team to get acclimated to one another, and I still expect them to finish with the bottom 3, 4, maybe even 5 record in all the National Football League. So again, for the Seahawks to get blessed, for them to open the season against very inexperienced teams that are still rebuilding, I think that's a great thing. Again, for the prospects of Mike Macdonald, I think it's definitely a great way for him. And Kale, like you said here in the comments, it's a great way for the Seahawks to kind of get, our bearings and whatnot. Mike Macdonald in particular, I mean, again, he's a first-time head coach. And so for him to kind of have that 2-game stretch to start off his career, I think it's got to be a sigh of relief as well on his side of things. Let me get to you here, though, at the GMM network. I mean, the quarterback market is going to get up to like $65 million a year. So this is going to be market friendly in a couple of years as far as Jared Goff's contract goes. Oh, yeah. I mean, I did mention that, Bogart, again, the next quarterback that gets paid is going to surpass him. But it's just, I understand how valuable a quarterback is, but it's like, man, for a quarterback to just kind of come in here, yeah, he took the team to the NFC Championship game, but again, there's still so many quarterbacks in the NFL that I think are just purely better. And yeah, in a couple of years, it's going to look friendly, but man, I guess they had to do what they had to do. I'm gonna just keep it at that. But you do bring up a great point, though. So thank you for that, Bogart. We got Rav Vent in the building, man. Always showing love. What's up, brethren? Man, what's up, my good brother from another? Hope you're doing well, bro. And thanks for tuning in here. As you can see, I'm sweating profusely here. It is getting very, very hot. And if you're local, if you're in Seattle, yeah, the weather's been beautiful, but the heat, it's starting to pick up a little bit. It's starting to pick up. Now, I don't mind. I mean, because, with the sun comes a little bit of heat, and so I don't mind, but I'm going to need to bring a fan or two in the area because all this sweat, jeez. Rav, though, thanks for tuning in, my good brother. Always happy to see you here. Always happy to see you here. Just to get back to what I was saying earlier, we left off. We were talking about the bye. We were talking about the primetime games. We were talking about Seattle's first 2 opponents. I want to touch on this just a little bit, though. There's a bunch of revenge games on the schedule. Kick things off. We got Draymond Jones and Noah Fant up against the Denver Broncos in week 1. Jerome Baker going up against his former team and the Miami Dolphins in week 3. We got Leonard Williams going up against the New York Giants. And let me bring this up real quick. That's in week 5. Tyrell Dodson, the Buffalo Bills. Week 8. And so I just thought this was a cool thing to point out. And that's not even, we haven't even gotten to Seattle playing its former players, right? If you guys follow me on Instagram, I posted this morning about a video that's starting to go viral, that's picking up some steam. DJ Dallas, and this is courtesy of Arizona Cardinals social media. They asked their players, who would you like to play in week 1? And DJ Dallas' answer, for those of you who haven't heard it yet, I don't care who it is. I want the Seattle Seahawks. That's what he said. And so Seattle doesn't play week 12. So Seattle isn't going to be able to see a DJ Dallas again on the field until week 12. But I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I'm not taking it as serious as some other fans are. I mean, obviously, if you're in the NFL, you're going to be as competitive as it gets. And I think some fans kind of misinterpreted DJ Dallas. I don't think it's him hating on the Seahawks. I don't think it's him throwing any sort of shade at the Seahawks. I don't think it's any sort of, I don't think it's a jab whatsoever, right? I mean, I saw some people in the comments kind of complaining and saying that, oh, DJ Dallas was drafted by the Seahawks. Oh, Seattle gave DJ Dallas his first opportunity in the NFL. Why would you go out there and and treat Seattle like that. It's not like that. I think it just kind of comes down to being a competitor, to wanting to compete, and to wanting to stick it to your former employer. Maybe the Seahawks didn't want him back, and so maybe he does feel a little bit of saltiness, right? But I think it's all love, man. Ain't no love lost. I know DJ Dallas, he had kind of became somewhat of a polarizing figure. Here in Seattle these last couple of years, there were a lot of calls for him to stop returning kicks, to stop returning punts, and to stop throwing INTs in the red zone. But at the end of the day, DJ Dallas, we appreciate all your contributions, not just to the Seattle Seahawks, but to the city of Seattle. And so, again, I'm not as affected as some 12s are. But I just wanted to point out once again, as it relates to some of the Seahawks on the current roster, there's going to be a bunch of revenge games for these guys. As there'll also be for former Seahawks that are on other teams playing the Seahawks this year. Once again, let me go over it one more time. Draymond Jones and Noah Fant up against the Denver Broncos in week 1. Jerome Baker up against his Miami Dolphins in week 3. Leonard Williams going up against his former employer, the New York Giants, in week 5. Tyrell Dodson going up against his former employer in the Buffalo Bills in week 8. And I'm very, very excited. And I'm real interested to see how each of these guys will perform against their former teams. All I know is that for me, if I was going up against a former employer while I was getting paid millions of dollars, I'm going to make sure that they remember playing against me, right? And I'm sure some of these players can relate. But again, I wanted to highlight that. I wanted to point that out just because, a lot of these guys they're grown men. They're competitors. They have some of the most competitive hearts, out there. And so, again, I thought that was a cool thing to highlight. And, if you want to go there, Geno Smith does as well against the Jets in week 13, but to a lesser extent, since he's already faced them as a member of the Seahawks. Again, I'm going to ask you guys this one more time. What are your initial takeaways from the Seahawks' 2024 schedule? I did see some early record predictions in the chat. What else do you guys want to talk about? I mean, obviously, we're going to break down each and every single game week by week, but I want to see more of you guys talking here. I want to see more of you guys engaging and interacting. Again, I'm talking to y'all, but for me to do that, y'all got to talk back to me. So let's talk, man. Tell me what your thoughts are. Tell me what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and were there any surprises? Rav here is saying, bro, we tropical people used to it. Oh, more than used to it. And I think over the years, I've definitely gotten a little more dark, than I was growing up, just because I've spent so much time and I've had a lot of time under the sun. Now, none of it I regret, right? But haven't gotten as dark as I've since gotten. I mean, all that time spent in the sun, man. But Rav, you speak of facts, though. KO saying rain is coming to the PNW Friday/Saturday. I guess we'll find out. For as much as we all love the sun and the warm weather, rainy days are essential. Rainy days are needed, and before it shines, it got to rain a little bit. So I wouldn't mind that at all. But thanks for the weather update, KO. Not Chief, and he's talking about what I had posted on Instagram. Dude, y'all was going off on DJ. I'm saying, I even posted on my story, like, y'all are ruthless in the comments. I couldn't even tell y'all how many 12s were in the comment section just flaming a DJ Dallas. I mean, I could only imagine how DJ will react after seeing some of the comments that y'all made. In the comment section, I mean, some of y'all was just absolutely ruthless. Now, I understand this is kind of what social media has come to be, right? But man, some of y'all need to be a little nicer. Sheesh. Rav Vent here, though, echoing a lot of the sentiments of former fellow 12s here. DJ doesn't want the smoke. No, he does not. No, he does not. Kaylee saying DJ just wants to see his ex ASAP. He wanted to request a midseason trade on the slide. Oh man, I know I'm skipping some chats here, but Reflect the Sun, happy to see you here, bro. Wait, have I been living under a rock? Is there only 2 preseason games? No, there's 3. And I know I'm skipping again here a little bit, but I wanted to talk about this at the end of today's show. But the Seahawks actually have 3 games on the preseason schedule / slate. Now, all the dates and times are TBD, to be decided. But all I know is that the Los Angeles Chargers, the Tennessee Titans, and the Cleveland Browns are going to be Seattle's 3 preseason opponents. So reflect the sun. If you're still in here, one more time, Los Angeles Chargers, Tennessee Titans, and the Cleveland Browns. Those are the 3 preseason opponents for the Seattle Seahawks. And I hope that answers your question. CJ King in the building. Definitely attending that Jets game. I was at the Giants game last season. 11 sacks was something to win. And that was on Monday Night Football, too. So that was prime time. Seattle putting on a prime time popcorn sort of performance. Popcorn worthy. I meant to say popcorn worthy sort of performance against that horrendous New York Giants offensive line. Now, I don't believe that offensive line will be nearly as bad entering this season, but CJ King, man, I could only imagine how you was feeling at that game. Spoon had his first pick 6, the first of many, right, in his career. But for the Seahawks to have harassed the Giants all night long on prime time, man, that was lovely. That was lovely. But CJ King here is saying, okay, he predicts that the Seahawks will go 10-7. I think 10-7 is more than fair. For me, I'm going to just say it, and I will bring this up towards the end of the show. Right now, I have the Seahawks going 9-8. And like I always say, though, my statements, I'm never married to my statements. You know, I'm very fluid when it comes to my statements / takes. And so right now it's 9-8, but that could very well change even before the season starts. Y'all can quote me on that, though. I will start off with 9-8. So CJ, you're not very far off from what I'm predicting. They love us playing the Lions. They do. And we love smacking. We love smacking the Lions. And I don't mean that as in, oh, the Seahawks are blowing out the Lions, because these games have all been heavily contested, have all been close, have kind of put us on the edges of our seats. But yeah, the NFL does love the Seahawks and the Lions playing. And, you know, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I know that Detroit Lion fans will say, third time's a charm, third time's a charm. But, yo, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep smacking Lions. We're going to keep doing that. We're going to keep doing that. Now, Chief is saying, I think we'll make the playoffs, but I think we'll be an early exit, second round at best. Not a bad prediction. Nah, Chief, this is going to be an experimental season. We're going to be dogs next year, bro. Just, oh, big facts. Big facts. I think come 2025, now I think that's a very reasonable year to expect a playoff appearance. And I think come 2026, I think that's a reasonable year to start expecting a little bit more than just the playoffs. But nah, Chief, couldn't have said it better myself. Daquan Ingram in the building here. Or I already addressed you. My bad. I don't know why I'm saying it like you just entered. But Daquan is saying, I'm a fan of the bye coming between tough divisional games and coming after week A before the playoff push. 3-3 in division play coupled by a solid home record will get us into the playoffs. I like that. And I did plan on bringing this up towards the bottom of the show, but I mean, you kind of touched on it. So I'm going to just say it right now. And this is after the bye, right? But weeks 14 and 18 will be critical for Seattle, as that stretch will likely determine whether or not the Seahawks make the postseason. Seahawks have 5 straight NFC opponents to close the season. And one more time, let me put this up on the screen. I know it's not the brightest or the highest of quality, but let's just get it up. Never. Teams. And so, Daquan, I think you bring up a great point here. I'm a big fan of it as well, not just because of what you laid out, but also because it's late in the season, right? And especially with the first-year head coach at the helm, along with the coaching staff, they're not all entirely new to the NFL, but a lot of the coaching staff is new to the NFL. And so just to be able to have that rest time, that rest period towards the bottom of the year or towards the closing stretch of the season, I think that'd be very, very beneficial. And man, I love it. I love it. Reflect the Sun is saying, okay, thanks, Steezy. Google's missing the Titans game for some reason. Well, Google, I know Google is Google, but sometimes Google will also not act like Google. So, you know, that's what I'm here for. But you're welcome. We got All Around Sports also in the building, man. Tuning in. What is going on? Again, I have not forgotten your shirt. I have not forgotten your shirt. I still am in the process of working on that, getting that ready. It is in the queue, in the work queue. And so we'll get to that. But I'm feeling great. I'm feeling amazing. We blessed by the best over here, All Around Sports. I hope you're feeling the same. And man, I'm happy to see you here. Okay, and then All Around Sports is asking, what are your thoughts on the schedule? Just some quick takeaways. I mean, 4 primetime games. I love that. A week 10 bye. I love that. Five straight NFC opponents to close out the season, which I think will determine whether or not the Seahawks make the playoffs. I also love that. And for Seattle to start off the season against some of the worst teams in football and the Broncos and the Patriots, I also love that. We will get more into my takeaways as the show progresses, but those are some of my early thoughts and takeaways. And if you didn't see this, because All Around Sports, I don't think you were here at the top of the show. If you guys don't already know, in terms of opponent win percentage from last season, the Seahawks' 2024 schedule ranks as the 24th hardest in the NFL. So just wanted to share that. Let me see here. Okay, and now All Around Sports is asking, which games do you have highlighted? Well, let's bring this up on the screen. Those are all the games that I personally have highlighted. And if you guys have kind of noticed a theme within some of the matchups that I highlighted, those are all against heavyweights, or at least perceived, expected heavyweights, right? And I just want to see how Seattle performs against top tier competition. I always want to see how, and I'm not even just talking about football here, but just in life in general. Like, you want to test yourself, you want to see how good you really are, then go up against the best. And for the Seattle Seahawks, for them to do that in year one of the Mike Macdonald era, I want to see what these boys are made of. Yeah, a lot of them I know what they're made of, right? And we're talking about the players on the team here, but as far as the coaching staff, how are you going to have your team respond? How are you going to have your team prepped and ready to go against some of these heavyweights? That's why I have some of those games highlighted. But great question, All Around Sports. And then CJ King here, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, had them Giants fans ready to fight. Hey, they should have expected that, man. They should have expected that. Daniel Jones was having a rough year, as was the offensive line. Brian Daboll seemingly, I don't know, fell back down to earth. Saquon didn't have anybody blocking for him, but they should have knew what was coming. They should have knew what was coming. And then All Around Sports is saying the Donkeys are going to get a whooping when we meet them, as Seattle should. I mean, again, I think the Denver Broncos, yes, Sean Payton is still there, but that team is going to be expected as one of the worst in all of football. And I'm not expecting a blowout in week 1 by any means, but if the Seahawks don't handle business against the Broncos, I'm going to be a little bit worried. Okay, Reflect the Sun here with a fun fact. I like this. Thank you for sharing. The Seahawks are 9-1 versus the Lions in Seattle's last 10. Seattle owns the Lions. No doubt. No doubt. And it always appears that the Seahawks play. Well, we've known that the Seahawks, right, always, or at least they have a tendency to play up to their opponents. And, last year for Seattle to kind of give Detroit the sort of game that it gave them in week 2 in overtime, I mean, there were fireworks. Both teams were scoring a plethora of points, but Reflect the Sun, you bring up a great point. Yes, the Seahawks do own the Detroit Lions, and I expect that to continue this year. I know the Lions are, and I even talked about this myself, are Super Bowl contenders, but that don't mean that they can't falter or lose to a fellow NFC team. We'll see what happens, but I expect that number to go to 10-2, or 10-1 after Seattle's matchup with them. Nachiv is saying, sent you my address on Insta, bro. Okay, bet. I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you updated, but you should get your shirt once I ship it out, at least. But you should get it by the end of next week. All Around Sports, they always put up a fight. That Monday night game is going to be good. Oh, yeah. Seattle performs in prime time like they're in the Super Bowl. Always ready to go. Always in pristine shape, condition. just battle ready. Seattle's battle tested. So yes, it will be. It'll be a great battle. Okay. See the King here saying if we go 9-8 again, Pete should just stay. That's how I feel, honestly. I need 10 wins. Okay. CJ, I see what you're saying here. But for me, it's like Seattle's defense wasn't going anywhere. The offense had been stale for years. And so it's not entirely about record. It's more so about the locker room buying into a Mike Macdonald, committing to him, accepting him if they haven't already, riding for him, and then showing signs of improvement on both sides of the ball. With Pete Carroll in town, and I say this as respectfully as I possibly can, it's like the defense got worse every year. Third down offense remained the same every year. Offensive line was just never getting better. And so there were a lot of things wrong in Seattle while Pete Carroll was here. It's not just the record, CJ King. And so, again, I understand what you're trying to say here, but this is a new regime with the new coaching staff, with the new playbook, new schemes. You're having to learn players. And so it's going to take time. Yes, there's still a bunch of talent on this roster, but that can only go so far. So, CJ, while I understand what you're trying to say, it's not as simple as records. It really is, and I think it's a lot deeper than that. All Around Sports is saying when you put up the image, it didn't have the audio. Could you say what games you have highlighted again? Okay, well, I highlighted the Dolphins game, the Bills game, the first Cardinals game, the Packers game, the Bears game in Week 17, and then I think it was the first Niners game. Those are all the games that I have highlighted. And again, it's just because I want to see how Seattle does up against the very best. I want to see where Seattle stands compared to the very best. And so I hope you heard that All Around Sports. And I hope that answers your question. Rav Vince is saying, I can't stand the Niners, but how we looking on smashing the Niners. You know, the Niners are still as stacked as can be. I think the Niners are still, from top to bottom, if they're not the best or the most talented team as far as the pieces on paper, then they're definitely top 2 or top 3, right? And so I think it'd be a huge step forward if the Seahawks were able to play at least competitive football against the San Francisco 49ers, just because the Seahawks have gotten absolutely pummeled against the Niners these last couple of years. Ever since Russell Wilson left, it just seems like Seattle has the life sucked out of them, you know, every time they go up against the Niners. And yeah, I understand they're supremely more talented. They're just better built. And, you know, they've had a foundation laid in place for a while now. And, you know, they're coming off a Super Bowl loss. Like, they weren't there. It's not like they were there, or they were there for a reason, is what I'm trying to say. And so I'm not sure if the Seahawks get a win against their arch nemesis this year, but I will say that I do expect these games to be a lot closer, to come down to the wire. Okay, and then All Around Sports here saying, also, I'm moving soon, so the shirt may have to wait. Well, all right. Well, just keep me posted. It'll still be here. Reflect the Sun, right. Dan Campbell likes going for it instead of kicking those field goals versus Seahawks in our win and versus San Fran in the NFC Championship game. And you just got to find the right balance, right? The right medium. But I absolutely love that. I mean, me, myself, I know it's just Madden. It's nowhere near actual professional real life football. But it's like, I'm aggressive as it gets when it comes to my personal play calling. And I love going for it on fourth down. Obviously, if it's a 4th and like 20 something, or if it's a 4th and 15 plus, if it's a 4th and long, chances are I'm not going to go for it. But a lot of the times, if it's 4th and short, if it's 4th and 5 or below, I'm going to go for it. Whether that's in Madden or if I'm coaching up a not little league, but a Pop Warner team or something along those lines, flag football, I'm wanting to go for it every single time. And so Reflect the Sun, I could kind of relate, obviously to a far lesser degree than a Dan Campbell, but yes, you're also kind of right in that it played a part in, Seattle picking up that victory, and then obviously San Fran prevailing because Detroit had a great lead in the first half and they fumbled it away. So, yeah, great point though. Reflect the sun. Great point. All Around Sports is saying we're 30-22 against the Niners, 14-8 in the last 10 years. I hope we can beat the Niners so we can give them shit. Yeah, and that's nice and all, but in the last 2 years, Seattle's 0-5. Seattle's 0-5 against the San Francisco 49ers in the last 2 years, and that's really the number that I care about. It's the only number, the only win-loss record that I care about. Yeah, the history is great. I'm not trying to disrespect that whatsoever, but the Seattle Seahawks, simply put, to be quite frank, are winless against the San Francisco 49ers these last 2 years. And so I don't want 12s or any of us to be getting ahead of ourselves. We still have a long ways to go before we get in remote distance. Even remotely in distance is what I mean to say, as it pertains to, being the cream of the crop of the NFC West. We're still light years behind the San Francisco 49ers. But again, I think the Seattle Seahawks can go a long way if they're able to play them more competitively. But 0-5, that's the only stat that I'm worried about. And that's not a good stat. Not happy about that. But I can still agree with you here, Rap Vent. Let's give them the L. Let's do it. I'd be ecstatic. I truly would be. Now, Chief here is saying the Bears low-key finna be a hard-fought battle. Not gonna lie. I'm glad we don't have to face the Texans. Man, I'd want to play the Texans. What? I want to see what we're made of against the Texans. I understand what you're trying to say, though, not Chief. I'm not trying to downplay what you're saying, but I mean, going back to what you said, though, the Bears, yeah, most definitely. I'm sure by week 17, things will have clicked for Romo, Dunze, Caleb Williams, and the rest of that offense. I mean, they're absolutely loaded. I didn't even talk about DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, or Cole Kmet, or Gerald Everett, but yeah, come week 17, I think that'll be a potential fight for one of the last playoff spots in the NFC. So, yes, I'm glad that it's being broadcasted nationally, right? It's going to be Sunday Night Football. All Around Sports is saying I'm going to hit the sack. Have a good night, Steezy. Hey, I appreciate you for tuning in. All Around Sports. I'll see you on the next show. Have a blessed night. Peace. All right, you guys. So I spent some time here in the chat just kind of going back and forth with you guys. But right now, what I want to do is I'm going to take you guys through each game, weeks 1 through 18. We don't have to spend too much time on it. I'm just going to talk about relevant storylines and whatnot. And as we go through, if you guys have questions, and I'll definitely be sure to answer them to the best of my ability. But right now, we're gonna go ahead and kick things off here. Week 1, though, we've already spent some time here, so we're not going to spend too much additional time. But week 1, at home, for the second time in the last 3 years, Seahawks will open their season hosting the Denver Broncos September 8th at 1:05 Pacific time. If this is a game that any of you guys are attending or planning on attending, let me know in the chat. And obviously, I'm going to try to be there myself. I'm going to try to cover the game. And so if you guys are going there, if you're going to be there, let me know. And hopefully we can try to meet up or something. But I think with this game, I mean, again, the Denver Broncos are a very, very young team. They had to get rid of a lot of guys due to salary cap reasons. As we know, Russell Wilson has the highest dead cap charge in NFL history, $85 million dead cap and dead cap for the Denver Broncos. They've gone through a lot of changes, both offensively and defensively. Defensive stalwart Justin Simmons, one of the best safeties in the league, is still unsigned, by the way, but he's no longer going to be on the Denver Broncos. They lost a few other starters in free agency. They're going to be starting a rookie at quarterback, and Bo Nix. This team's going to have a very, very long season. And boy, am I glad that the Seahawks get to open up against a rookie, because I want to see what Mike McDonald can do. And I want to see what he can. I want to see him fluster. That's what I'm trying to say. I want to see him fluster some of these opposing quarterbacks, especially the rookie ones. And so I think that week 1 will definitely go a long way in determining how he's going to approach, his game plans and just what his strategy is going to look like. I mean, and obviously it's the first game of the season, and so we want to see what the new head coach is going to look like. But I'm not saying that this is a guaranteed win, but it should be. theoretically speaking, it should be a win against the Denver Broncos, who again are going to compete for that number one overall pick next year. And if they end up proving me wrong, then so be it. More power to them. But this game, I think, is definitely a great way to start off the season. Week 2 at the New England Patriots, it's a lot of the same sort of sentiments, right? The New England Patriots, they might even be a worse team than the Denver Broncos. There's a lot more unknown, especially at head coach. Now, Gerard Mayo was handpicked as the successor to a Bill Belichick. And so I'm not saying by any means that he's a scrub, that he can't coach, or that his future isn't bright as a coach in the National Football League. But again, that offense it was a nightmare to watch last year. I don't think that the offensive line got significantly better. I don't think that the weapons got significantly better, though I do have high hopes for both Javon Baker and Jalen Polk. But that offensive line still has some work to do. The rookie, Drake May, has a lot of work to do. Gerard Mayo, he definitely still has to get acclimated. And so, I think the New England Patriots, they're going to be in for a very, very rough season. And so for the Seahawks to kind of have two cupcake teams, and again, relatively speaking, right, I don't want anybody to take what I'm saying out of context. I'm not saying that these are cupcake teams per se, but what I'm saying is that relative to the rest of the teams on the schedule, this is a very cupcake-like start to the schedule. And so Denver and New England, I don't think it gets better than that. I think Seattle has the best 2-week start to kick off their season in the NFL. Now, I could be wrong. I haven't had the chance to look at every single team's schedules, but I think right now those are kind of some of my early thoughts. And through week 2, if the Seahawks aren't 2-0 after week 2, I think there's definitely going to be a small cause for concern. I'll say that. I'm going to take a quick break here, just kind of hit some of you guys here in the chat. Nachif is asking, Jamal coming back? At this stage, I think yeah. I think it's either he returns to the Seahawks, and this is going to hurt, or he's a Niner. I hope he's not a Niner. And you guys know this by now, but if Jamal does end up, if Perez does end up returning to the Seattle Seahawks, it'll most likely be as a weak side linebacker. Now, I don't expect him to play every single time he's on the field. I don't expect him to be, a linebacker every single time out, right? He's going to share the field with other linebackers and obviously with other safeties and other DBs. But yeah, according to what ESPN's Brady Henderson said, the Seahawks are interested in bringing back a Jamal only if he's willing to accept a position change, which I think at this stage in his career, he should be very open to doing so. So if I had to predict right now, Nachif, yes, I think Jamal Adams does come back, and I'm here for it. You guys know this, but he's one of my favorite players, not just one of my favorite Seahawks players, but just one of my favorite players to watch in general. And I'd love to see how he's deployed by a defensive genius like a Mike McDonald. I'm here for it. Let's go. Daquan here, I would be surprised if McDonald doesn't drive the message to his staff to make sure we are over-prepared for the 49ers and the Rams. He's the only defensive head coach in the division and the youngest. Yes, no doubt about that. And I know he obviously had a lot more to work with in Baltimore. He was the defensive coordinator as well. He wasn't the head coach, but to kind of see how his defense stifled, maybe not the Rams, because that was more of a close game. It did end in overtime, but against the Niners, the Baltimore Ravens were more than prepared against the Niners. As you guys saw on Christmas Day, there was just an absolute beatdown of the Niners. Brock Purdy had a ghastly 4 INTs. Yes, a few of those were tipped, and so it's not like he's entirely to blame. But Daquan, man, great points. I wish there was a way that I could pin this on the screen, but great point. One more time, I just want to read this because it's genius. But I would be surprised if McDonald doesn't drive the message to his staff to make sure we are over-prepared for the 49ers and the Rams. He's the only defensive head coach in the division and the youngest. Nachif is saying, no way, for real? Coach McDonald is the only defensive-minded head coach in our division? Well, actually, not necessarily, because Jonathan Gannon was the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles when they were in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. And so Mike McDonald is the second defensive-minded coach in the division, but Daquan is still right in that he's the youngest. Either way, the point remains, and I have no doubt in my mind that his team will be prepared. The Seahawks will be prepared come those divisional matchups. We got night and day with Mark Andre in the building, man. Mark, my good friend, man, what's up? He said, I'm going to try to be at that week 1 game. And if I end up seeing you there, Mark, we definitely got to link up again. It was definitely real fun. It was a pleasure getting to meet you a couple of months ago at SneakerCon over in Seattle. That was just so cool, getting to chop it up with you for a little bit, seeing what you do. And I know you're blogging yourself. And so, Mark, I hope to see you there in week 1. And man, thanks for tuning in. I haven't seen you in a while. So definitely happy to see you here. Not Chief. Hell no. If he's in the Niner, that's going to be sickening. That's what I'm saying. And if I'm Jamal Adams, if the Seahawks don't want to bring me back, then yes, I'm going to sign with the Niners, even if it means taking the veteran minimum, just because it gives him an opportunity to stick it to his former employer. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And I wouldn't be mad at him for doing so. Just like I wasn't mad at KJ Wright, and just like I wasn't mad for Richard Sherman, when he did it. Now I feel a little differently, though, just because he still rides so hard for the Niners. And it's like, I don't think it should be that way. But again, that's neither here nor there. It's anyways, let's move on. But Jamal, come back to Seattle. Come back to Seattle. Week 3. We've touched on this a little bit. At home versus the Miami Dolphins, September 22nd at 1:05 p.m. Pacific time. Now, this is going to be what I believe Seattle's first big test against a top-notch, a top-tier offense. The Miami Dolphins recently signed an Odell Beckham Jr., and so we'll see what that does for that offense. I understand the Miami Dolphins, I think, relative to the rest of the NFL, they don't run a lot of 3 wide. Alex Ingold is a big part of Mike McDaniel's system, and he's a big part of what Mike McDaniel likes to do offensively. And so with Miami also bringing in Jonnu Smith, you're going to expect, more tight ends and fullbacks on the field. You expect that to kind of remain intact. But again, the Miami Dolphins haven't had, and this is after Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, I don't believe they've had a reliable wide receiver 3 since those two were put together, right? And so I think with an Odell Beckham Jr., I don't think he's washed yet. I really don't. I just think that what we saw last year in Baltimore, yeah, he had to deal with a few injuries, but just as far as the pecking order, I mean, there were just a bunch of other guys, even Isaiah Likely was doing his thing. Zay Flowers was just flat out a better receiver. Lamar Jackson he's always a threat, right, with his legs, and that was just a run-oriented team. And so I think statistically, yeah, he didn't put up the gaudiest of numbers, but I don't think OBJ is washed. But let me try to deviate away from Odell Beckham Jr. This is the Seattle Seahawks versus the Miami Dolphins, but I was bringing up Odell Beckham Jr. because I think that it's going to make Miami's offense more potent than it already has. And so for Mike McDaniel, a young, innovative, creative defensive genius going up against a young, creative, innovative offensive genius in a Mike McDaniel, this is going to be a game of chess, right? And thankfully, it's in Seattle. And so for those of you guys here that are local, I hope to see some of y'all at that game as well. But yeah, Miami Dolphins and that loaded offense, it's going to be a great big first test for Mike McDaniel. We'll see how he schemes up his defense. We'll see how Mike McDaniel schemes up his offense. And so that's definitely a game that I have circled on my calendar. That's definitely a game that I'm looking forward to a little bit more than some of the others. And this is also a revenge game, not just for Jerome Baker, Seattle's newest linebacker, who has spent the past 5 or 6 years of his career in Miami. This is also a revenge game for former Seahawks linebacker Jordan Brooks, who signed with Miami, what was it, on day 1 of free agency? And so I know some of you guys were reluctant to bring him back. Some of you were relieved that he didn't come back. And I know that some of you were disappointed that he didn't come back, given the generous offer that Miami had kind of given him. It wasn't the most money in the world, right? Relative to other linebackers in the NFL, what was it, 3 years and about $30 million. But I think that what had happened was the Seahawks were kind of stuck, waiting to kind of finish out and hammer out, the contract details for a Leonard Williams. But look, y'all, this, again, a revenge game on both sides. Seattle's first big test. It is going to be at home versus an explosive offense. But then again, for Miami to travel all the way on the opposite side of the country, all the way over here, I think travel will take somewhat of a toll on them. But yeah, this is definitely the first game of the season that I have truly highlighted, and I can't wait to see what Mike McDonald cooks up. I mean, he is being hyped up as a defensive Sean McVay, right? Well, what better way to show that to the NFL world than to go up against one of the more explosive offenses in the National Football League? It's going to be a great test. I'm not sure if I can expect a win here, but I expect a close game. I expect a game with a bunch of adjustments, and man, it's going to be a battle of two masterminds. I can't say that. I will say that. All right, moving right along here. Week 4, Seattle's first primetime game. Monday Night Football against the Detroit Lions on September 30th at 5:15 p.m. Pacific time. I mean, Reflect the Sun, I don't know if you're still here in the chat, but Reflect the Sun said it best. The Seattle Seahawks are 9-1 in its last 10 against the Detroit Lions. And CJ King, you also brought this up in the chat. They love, and by they, he means the NFL. The NFL loves pitting Seattle against Detroit. And every time that matchup happens, at least in the last couple of years, there's been nothing but fireworks. And so I expect the same thing. And for Seattle to do battle with Detroit in prime time, I don't think it gets any better than that. And so, again, you're going up against a high-octane, a high-flying offense against the Miami Dolphins in week 3 to the very next week, going up against – they might not be as potent as Miami is offensively, but obviously they're contenders. They're Super Bowl contenders, but they're more well-rounded. I think they're slightly better coached as a whole, right? And so they might not be as talented because I think Miami, they have a collection of a bunch of individual talents, right? But as a team, collectively, we've yet to see that as far as results on the field. And so, man, this is going to be a tough 2-week stretch here. You get to open the season against Denver. You get to open the season against New England. So you kind of start off easy, right? Relatively speaking. And then, you got Miami. And then you got Detroit in prime time. If someone can actually bring up Seattle's primetime record for me in the chat, I greatly appreciate that. But from what I know, from what you guys know, the Seahawks are elite in prime time. Now, how much will things change with Mike McDonald at the helm? That remains to be seen. But I do expect a lot of that success in prime time to kind of carry over. Obviously, a lot of the talent is still present. It's still prevalent with today's Seahawks roster. And so this is another game that I have circled. This is another game that I'm very, very, very looking forward to. And look, I'm not providing any sort of win-loss predictions here because there's so many things that could change between now and the start of the season. You guys are more than welcome to drop your win or loss predictions in the chat. I'm really just kind of breaking down each game and kind of bringing up some thoughts and different headlines and whatnot. But again, this is Seattle's first primetime game of the season, and I think that come week 4, this will be Seattle's toughest opponent to date. Moving along, though, in week 5, and CJ King, to your point, I don't know if you're still tuned in. Excuse me. Sorry about that, y'all. In week 5, and CJ, this is to your point about the NFL and how they love to pit Seattle versus Detroit. It also seems like to me the NFL loves to pit Seattle versus the New York Giants because it seems like Seattle's played Detroit every year now for the last, 4 years? I could be wrong. I might have that wrong, but man, if they want to get beat down again, if they want to take or if they want to give up another 10 plus sacks, then Seattle is a team to do so. I'm joking, right? But the New York Giants, they should be improved. Who knows? Drew Lock could be the starter. And so this could be a revenge game of some sort. If Drew Lock is indeed the starter, if he is, I think that this game becomes a lot more intriguing. I think that this game becomes a lot more entertaining. I think that this game becomes a lot more close than what a lot of people are initially anticipating. But I think this game has potential. I think with the Malik Neighbors now in New York as that bona fide wide receiver 1, Saquon Barkley isn't there. Devin Singletary is there to kind of take his place and to make up his best Saquon Barkley impression. But prior to the stretch that he had last year in Houston, he just hasn't been very spectacular throughout his NFL career. And so who knows? Maybe we see 5th round rookie wide receiver turn running back Tyrone Tracy. And so I think the New York Giants, again, they have the potential to make this game a lot more interesting than as initially constructed, right? With this could be a Drew Lock game. This could be a game in which Drew Lock is starting. We don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be healthy enough to start the year. Who knows? Maybe if he is, maybe he just gets beat outright by Drew Lock in training camp. We'll see what happens. But I always felt like Drew Lock had the potential to be a starter on his next team. And so this game, again, right now, it's definitely not a game that I'd say I have circled, but it has potential. Until that potential is fulfilled, though, this is probably going to end up similar to how last year ended. At least one would hope, right? Here's another test, though, and another primetime game, Seattle's second primetime game in a 3-week stretch, this time courtesy of Prime Video, airing on Thursday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers on October 10th at 5:15 Pacific time. Again, and Daquan, you brought up a great point here in the chat. I got to bring this up again. You said I'd be surprised if McDonald doesn't drive the same message to his staff to make sure we are over-prepared for the 49ers and Rams. 1,000%. And if last year's Baltimore beatdown of the Niners on Christmas Day was any sort of indication, then I think the Seahawks are going to be playing the Niners a lot closer than they have these last 2 years. Again, All Around Sports did bring up a great stat earlier in the show. The Seahawks, yes, they have an above 500 record, or they have a winning record. It's probably a better way to phrase it. The Seahawks have a lot more wins than losses. Let's just put it that way against the Niners in the last decade or so. But again, that doesn't matter when in the last 2 years, the Seahawks are winless. In 5 opportunities, you're 0-5. Now, if Seattle were to make that 0-6 after this game, that wouldn't be the end of the world. But what I will say is I want to see improvement. I want to see more of a fight, more of a battle. Just mano a mano, right? Like Seattle's over here just getting manhandled. It's like every single time, at least in the last couple of years, ever since Russell Wilson left. And so again, I know I brought up the Miami Dolphins as a test from Mike McDonald. I know I brought up the Detroit Lions as a test, but this is Seattle's first real test of significance. Going up against a bona fide Super Bowl contender, it's not just a fellow divisional rival. It's not just a team that you've struggled to win against in these last couple of years. This is a bona fide Super Bowl contender, and they arguably, again, have the best roster from top to bottom. So we'll see what Mike McDonald and the rest of that coaching staff can cook up. But I expect the game to be a lot closer, to be more tightly contested, to be more competitive. And heck, we'll see what Mike McDonald is made of. We will. Moving along here, though, week 7 in Atlanta at the Atlanta Falcons on October 20th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. This is yet another team that the Seahawks could potentially be duking it out with. If the Atlanta Falcons don't win the NFC South, chances are they'll still contend or compete for a playoff spot, likely a wild card spot, right? And so the Atlanta Falcons, I think that this game could have low-key playoff implications. And so this is a game that the Seahawks have. Obviously, you're going to take every game seriously, right? But you have to treat this as if it's damn near a divisional game because, again, this is a team that you should expect to kind of compete with down the stretch when it comes to securing one of those final playoff spots. I don't think the Seahawks win the NFC West outright, and so Seattle's going to have to compete for a wildcard spot if they're going to be making a run for the playoffs. And if you're going to make a run for the playoffs, every game counts, especially against fellow NFC opponents. And this game is going to have some storylines, right? I mean, who knows if Kirk Cousins, for whatever reason, can't play or doesn't play or isn't the one starting, then Michael Penix is surely to be the guy in charge and at the helm of that offense. And that'll be very, very interesting and entertaining to watch a UW guy going up against a team that could have drafted him in the Seahawks. Definitely expect, though, you guys, for those of you guys that are tuned in here, and for those of you guys that are going to catch the replay, definitely expect to see me hop on a couple of Atlanta Falcons shows, just because, as you guys saw in the chat earlier, I do have a couple of Falcon content creators that I've since befriended, and we'll definitely put together a collab for you guys. This is a game that, yes, I'm excited for, and has playoff implications, and so we'll see what happens. But man, they have weapons. I'll say that. Kyle Pitts, I think that he could finally put up a year that's going to somewhat justify him being taken 4th overall a couple of years ago. Drake London, I think he's in for a beast mode type of season. And I'm not talking about Marshawn Lynch. I'm just talking about from a statistical standpoint. Bijan Robinson, I just hope that he's not running wild, because that Seahawks run defense, as you guys know, has been absolutely and utterly awful these last couple of years. I think that, and the Niners, they count as well, and as well the Lions, but I think that this will be Seattle's 3rd matchup of the season to this point of the year, in which they'll have a great ground attack, and which they're going to have to game plan for. And so, again, we'll see what Mike McDonald and that Seahawks run defense is going to look like. But if the Lions and the Niners are able to run all over that run defense, you can almost guarantee the Falcons will try to do the same in Week 7. It's yet another test here. Now, I don't know if I still consider the Buffalo Bills as bona fide Super Bowl contenders, just because they've had so much turnover this offseason, but this is still nevertheless a playoff team, a playoff opponent, and the game it's AFC versus NFC, and so it's not going to have the same sort of implications as other matchups will. But again, this is your chance to kind of test what you're made of against some of the very best. And so even if the Buffalo Bills aren't necessarily the bona fide contenders that they've been perceived as these last couple of seasons, you're going up against one of the very best that the NFL has to offer at quarterback, and a Josh Allen. And so if I'm looking at the schedule, this is Seattle's first real test against a mobile quarterback. Now, I don't know what you guys think about a Bo Nix. Yeah, he's mobile in his own right, but he's not anywhere near a Josh Allen when it comes to mobility, scrambling ability, and just being able to be a threat as a runner at quarterback. And so I'm curious to see how Mike McDonald defends a Josh Allen. I'm curious to see what the new look Buffalo Bills offense will look without a Stephon Diggs. I'm curious to see what Josh Allen will look like as a passer without a Stephon Diggs. And so this will be yet another great test for the Seattle Seahawks. Thankfully, this is at home on October 27th at 1:05 p.m. Pacific time, and it's not often the Seahawks play the Bills. Last time they did that was 4 years ago. And this is when the whole let Russ cook movement started to dissipate, started to deteriorate before our eyes. I think Russ had 4 turnovers that game. He had 2 INTs, he had 2 fumbles, and that Seahawks defense gave up 40-plus points. I don't expect that to happen this time around, and I would hope it doesn't. If it were, oh boy. Oh boy. Moving along, though, Seattle's first matchup against the LA Rams. I don't know why that was hard to say. But Seattle's first matchup against the LA Rams will be at home on November 3rd at 1:25 Pacific time. And again, going back to what Daquan said earlier, we should expect the Seahawks team to be over-prepared. The last time Mike McDonald went up against Sean McVay, they were duking it out in overtime. And so it's not like Mike McDonald's defense just stomped and walked all over Sean McVay's offense. But again, similar to what I was saying about Mike McDaniel versus a Mike McDonald versus a Sean McVay, this will be Mike McDonald now as a head coach. And so he's not going to have, the same sort of support and staff that he had with the Baltimore Ravens. Nevertheless, I expect this to be a close game. I expect this to be yet another chess match. I think that Rams offense is only going to get better. In a lot of people's eyes, they were a surprise playoff team last year. Not in mine. I do believe that they can be sneaky Super Bowl contenders coming out of the NFC. And so this is most definitely going to be a game that Seattle has to have circled, and Seattle has to find some sort of success in if 12s everywhere are going to believe in Mike McDonald as a head coach moving forward. And again, this is a divisional game, and that's why I feel so strongly. Ooh, time for a break. Man, I feel like I've been... Well, the Seahawks have a week 10 bye. And like we were saying earlier, at the top of the show, this is going to be hugely beneficial. Every team in a perfect world would prefer a bye towards the end of the season, right? Because if you guys, as you guys may recall, the Seahawks had a week 5 bye last year, for crying out loud. And that's just not, it's not to say that you can't have a successful season, but you'd prefer to have a bye after having played football for a couple of months. And then that bye becomes that much better. You enjoy it a little bit more, and it just comes at a more critical time, because come the midway point of the season, everyone's hurt. You know, a lot of guys are injured. Most guys are still playing hurt. Most guys are playing injured. And so, again, for the Seahawks to have a week 10 bye, you know, shout out to the schedule makers. I know the last couple of years haven't been very kind to the Seahawks, but this year, I think the schedule makers have kind of redeemed themselves a little bit. This is a great time to have a bye. It's not the best time, because the best time will be as late as possible, which is what, week 13? I think that's the latest, or week 14, I think, is the latest that a team can have a bye. But again, beggars can't be choosers, and you know, I'm happy with this. We'll take this. We'll take this. All right, week 11 at the San Francisco 49ers, November 17th at 1:05 p.m. Pacific time. Now, this is going to be another test. This is in Santa Clara, not in San Francisco, but in Santa Clara, not in Seattle. This is going to be on the road. This is going to be in somewhat of a hostile environment. And so, kind of similar to the sentiments that I brought up earlier, this is going to be a big test. This is a divisional battle, and it doesn't matter to me if Seattle comes out as a winner or a loser. Again, a lot of this year will really just come down to how Seattle looks against some of these heavyweights, against divisional opponents. Pete Carroll struggled immensely. He has against Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. And so now that the Seahawks have their own prodigy, right, albeit on the defensive side of the ball, at head coach, I expect better. I expect the team to be more prepared. I expect the team to put up more of a fight. I expect the team to respond better than they have. And so, again, I'm not happy about the Seahawks having been 0-5 these last 2 years. I don't care what the all-time record is. I don't care what the all-time record is against the San Francisco 49ers. 0-5 is just not going to cut it. 0-5 can't remain that way. Just simply put, it can't. And so, if the Seahawks are unable to win in week 6 in prime time at home, then you damn sure better win this one. But I want to see a split at the very least. Now, talent-wise, there's not too much to kind of look forward to, just because, again, I don't think Seattle is in the same realm. Seattle isn't even in the same stratosphere as the San Fran as far as roster construction goes. But, you know, as we know, injuries play a role every year. A lot of teams, not all, but a lot of teams. And so we'll see what happens. This is still a long ways to go, but I would love to see Seattle split with the San Francisco 49ers. And if they don't win in week 6, then this is a must win. Week 12. Seattle's first matchup, hosting division rival, the Arizona Cardinals, November 24th at 1:25 p.m. Pacific time. I had this game circled, not just because it's a divisional game, but it's a DJ Dallas revenge game, right? Again, we talked about this at the top of today's show. He wants all the smoke with the Seahawks. And again, as a competitor, that's what you would expect him to say. I just hope that he gets an opportunity, because James Conner and Trey Benson, I believe, are just more talented running backs, and they probably have higher standings on the depth chart. Now, I don't know if Arizona plans to use DJ Dallas on special teams. I don't know if they plan to use him more at receiver. Heck, who knows? Maybe he ends up being a wildcat or more of an emergency sort of quarterback. But I'm real interested to see how much playing time, how many snaps he'll play. Because, I mean, look, he wants to smoke, right? And so I think the Seahawks have most definitely caught wind of some of those comments that he made. And, yeah, they're not going to take a personal. You know, there's no love lost. But it's like, okay, you got a guy here talking spicy. All right, well, show us, because we're going to show you. So this is a game that I have circled, and I think the Arizona Cardinals, they're not as much of a pushover as everyone is making it out to be. I think this team had one of the best drafts out of any team in the entire 2024 NFL draft. Kyler Murray has a number 1 wide receiver again in a Marvin Harrison, who I think will be special in the National Football League. Trey Benson, I think he could be special in the National Football League. They made a lot of moves defensively. Now, I'm not saying all this to say that they're going to go on a playoff run by any means, but I am saying this because the Cardinals last year, they overachieved. They really did. And so now you're going to have hopefully, right, a full year, a full healthy season of a Kyler Murray. And so this is going to be a lot closer than I think people realize. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. If Seattle does split with the Cardinals, though, I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't. Even if, as far as roster construction or as far as talent goes, even if Arizona doesn't necessarily match up with the Seahawks, again, they overachieved last year. Jonathan Gannon was a lot better than advertised. And, yeah, they beat some teams that they shouldn't have beat last year. So we'll see how much better they look in year 2 under Jonathan Gannon. But that team, they're going to fight. They're going to fight. Week 13 in New York at the New York Jets on December 1st, a day before my birthday. Aaron Rodgers, and here's a fun fact real quick for those of you guys that didn't know. Aaron Rodgers and I, we have the same birthday, December 2nd. And so obviously he's going to have a different birthday wish than I, even though we share the same birthday. He's going to want his Jets to come out on top. I'm going to need the Seahawks to come out on top. We'll see what gives. Something has to give, right? But I'm real excited for this matchup. I do believe that the New York Jets will be Super Bowl contenders. That's right. I'm going to say it again. I believe that the New York Jets will be Super Bowl contenders, barring injury, of course. But I do believe that the Jets will be contenders in the AFC, barring injury. And again, this will be yet another litmus test for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, while I'm not expecting a playoff appearance in year 1 under the new regime, I'm not expecting Seattle to go undefeated in the regular season or anything like that. What I am expecting is this team to put up a fight, and I especially want to see that against top-tier competition, against teams that I believe are going to be contenders. And so in New York, you're going up against an Aaron Rodgers. You've arguably had his number, right, in the last decade or so, but he'll now be playing for a different team. And this time, this team will be absolutely loaded on defense. He's going to have weapons to work with. He's going to have, I think it'll be a decent, if not above average, offensive line. And so he's going to have a lot to work with. This is going to be up against a contender. And so I want to see Seattle play close. I want to see Seattle in the game up until the very end. And I just want to see them throw fits against Aaron Rodgers and some of those playmakers on offense, even if Seattle doesn't necessarily come out with a victory. But this game is definitely another game that I have circled, another game that I'm looking forward to, and another game in which I hope that my birthday wish trumps Aaron Rodgers. We'll see what happens there, though. And then for the second time in a 3-week stretch, this time it's in Arizona versus the Arizona Cardinals. Man, I feel like the NFL loves pitting the Seahawks and the Cardinals against each other in the span of a month. It always seems like after the Seahawks play the Cardinals, they play them again in like a week or two. This has happened now, I feel like, for the last 2, 3, maybe even 4 years running. And so I don't know what it is. I don't know what the NFL's infatuation is with the Seahawks and the Cardinals having played each other in a 2-3 week span. But honestly, I don't have much to add other than to really echo some of the sentiments that I had. This is a divisional game. This is a game in which we could see rookie Trey Benson, overtake running back James Conner. I do believe that he's the more talented back. Obviously, he's not the veteran that James Conner is, so we'll see what happens here. But I expect the Arizona Cardinals to be another team that plays feisty, that overachieves, and that plays every team close. Yeah, they might get blown out here or there. I mean, just because they are so young. But, this is another divisional matchup in which I expect Mike McDonald and those boys to remain sharp. So there's that. Moving right along to week 15 here. Oh, real quick, though, let me get back to you guys here in the chat. Let's take a little break here. Okay, Jaws, I'm going to come back to Jaws here. Oh, dang, who's figuring to start for us at the non-edge linebackers? Well, I think right now, if we're just talking about our off-ball linebackers, it should be Tyrell Dodson and Jerome Baker. Now, Tyrese Knight could impress in camp. I think Tyrese Knight has the best chance at off-ball linebacker, barring another addition in the off-ball linebacker department. But right now, it is scheduled to be a Tyrell Dodson and a Jerome Baker. And then Mark, I don't know if he's still here, but Mark was saying, I'm going to come back and watch this, but I got to hit this judo class real quick. Hey, okay, Mark, he's taking part in judo, man. I love to see that. I love to hear that. Mark, go get that work in, and I'll probably be done with the stream by the time you get back on. But as always, I mean, the replay will be available for you guys. And don't forget to share, y'all. Don't forget to share this with other Seahawk fans. If you're still live, if you're catching the replay, definitely be sure to share this, y'all. I definitely want to see other people's thoughts and comments and opinions on the Seahawks' 2024 schedule. And I want to keep interacting with more of you guys every stream. So be sure to share this for me, y'all. Jaws is saying, forgot we picked up Jerome Baker. Wasn't a huge fan of him in Miami. Pretty suspect pass coverage, but might fit this scheme better. You know, Jaws, I'm going to have to agree to disagree with you here. I think he's actually more than adept in pass coverage. I mean, he's not built to stop the run. He is a little bit on the skinnier side for an off-ball linebacker. Last I checked, he's in the 220s. And so when it comes to shedding blocks, when it comes to how would I phrase this? Because I want to phrase this as best as I can. Run support. Let's just say that when it comes to, he's not the most physical because he's not the most physically imposing linebacker, but I think he's very fluid in coverage. I think he can keep up. I mean, you look at his statistics as far as his pass deflections, his interceptions, his coverage grades. I mean, I think he's graded out just fine in coverage. It's really all about him kind of bulking up a little bit, adding some mass and being able to get physical there in the trenches. But Jaws, I appreciate the comment, but might fit the scheme better, I hope. And we can only hope at this point, right? And then Ralph Vent here with an earlier comment. Richard Sherman gets to me, man, but I can't blame him. Yeah, I mean, he's so adamant about Seattle having kicked him to the curb when he was down. And so, you know, it's hard to blame a man for feeling that way. I mean, especially when it's prideful as a Richard Sherman. And so I can't either, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Daquan Ingram took a look at the Rams schedule, and their schedule is brutal. If we split with them, playoffs are on the horizon. Well, either way, I think the playoffs are already on the horizon, right? I think definitely Seattle is going to contend for one of those final few spots. Ultimately, I think Seattle misses out. But, I mean, yeah, if the Rams end up struggling or if the schedule kind of gets to them, then it definitely bodes Seattle's chances of picking up a playoff spot. And, okay, shoot. Now I got to take a look at the Rams schedule. I appreciate you for bringing that up, though, Daquan. Yeah, like I said, I'll definitely – I'll take a look and I'll see for myself what that's looking like. But I expect the Rams to be a pretty good team this year. Again, I think they're one of the sneaky Super Bowl contenders in the NFC. We got Guile G here in the building. Now, I'm not sure I've seen you here before. So, Guile, welcome to the Team Steezy family. I appreciate you for tuning in. I appreciate your comment. And this person is saying schedule is hard. I see us winning 7 games. Wow. Talk about being a little more pessimistic, right? Which is fine though, by the way. I'm not trying to say that prediction is wrong, or I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but Guile, I mean, I disagree. I don't think that the schedule is nearly as hard. I mean, last year was definitely more daunting. It had a gauntlet, had an early bye. But I think this year there are quite a few things in Seattle's favor, but to each their own, right? To each their own. If Seattle wins more than that, then great. If Seattle only wins 7, then I guess that does bode well for Seattle landing a higher 2025 draft pick. I think either way, it's not necessarily a win-win, right? But it's a win and then kind of a win. However you want to look at that. All about perspective, all right? Nah, Chief, finna go to sleep, bro. I have an AP test tomorrow morning. Got to be there early. Peace out, Steezy. Hey, peace out, Nah, Chief. Again, I hope if you haven't celebrated already, I hope this weekend you have a blast with your family and your loved ones. Happiest of birthdays. And hey, go ace that test tomorrow, little bro. Thanks for tuning in, though. Have a blessed night. All right, y'all, moving right along. We're almost done here. I know we've been going live for almost 2 hours, and I am going to try to wrap this up at the 2-hour mark. And so we have about 9 minutes. I think we can do it. Week 15. At home versus the Green Bay Packers in Seattle's first Sunday night football showcase on December 15th at 5:20 p.m. Pacific time against the Green Bay Packers. Now, this team, a lot of pundits are picking this team to really take another step forward this coming season. And if anything, or if what they did last year was any indication for what they're going to accomplish this year, then the the Seahawks better look out, because that Green Bay Packers team led by Jordan Love, this could be a very dangerous team. I mean, this team could be at the top of the NFC North come week 15, and they could be looking to secure the division. And so I think Green Bay is still going to have a lot to play for at this point. And if they're not at the top of the division, if that's Detroit, then they're definitely going to be fighting for a wild card spot. And so again, this matchup is going to have plenty of playoff implications. It's going to become almost a must win of sorts, right? Just because you're competing with so many different teams for just a few wild card spots. And so this will be a very intriguing matchup. It'll be, again, I think another chess match. You have a Matt LaFleur versus a Mike McDonald, one guy who excels on offense and another who excels on defense. You have a guy that's coming off an NFC divisional appearance, a heartbreaking loss to the Niners. They were just a couple of plays away from the NFC Championship game, and so they are riding a high. If they were to fall victim to a hangover and kind of fall off a little bit, I also wouldn't be surprised, just because the team is so young. But they also did sign a Josh Jacobs, and if he's to rediscover his all-pro form, then man, I think the league better watch out for the Packers, especially if Jordan Love continues to improve, which he should. But this is yet another test in which I don't expect Seattle to necessarily come out with a victory, but I would like to see Seattle play this team close. I do want to see Seattle integrate just new things, especially defensively. And yeah, another game that I have circled, as do a bunch of you guys, I'm sure. Yet another NFC North showdown, this time at home versus the Minnesota Vikings, Week 16, December 22nd at 1:05 p.m. Pacific time. Now, the Vikings, they're probably going to bring up the rear in the NFC North, and that's not completely a bad thing, just because the NFC North is absolutely stacked. We've talked about the Detroit Lions. We've talked about the Green Bay Packers. We will talk about the Chicago Bears next. J.J. McCarthy will likely be the starter come Week 16, but I think this is probably going to be a rough year for the Vikings, unless J.J. McCarthy is better than advertised, and unless his development is, if he improves at a much faster rate than a lot of us expect, then perhaps the Vikings push themselves into the playoff conversation, at least for a wild card spot. But I think come this point of the season, they're probably looking at securing better draft capital, right, for 2025, and they're definitely looking to see what J.J. McCarthy can do. And so we'll see what happens here, but definitely not a team to kind of gloss over. This is still an NFC matchup, and again, if they are better than advertised, this will be a critical game as it pertains to the playoff picture, especially at this point of the season. And so definitely not an opponent to gloss over, but also not exactly an opponent that I'd be super worried about. But I am curious to see, just because Seattle's cornerback room, and I've talked about this, I've been on record saying this, the Seahawks have the best cornerback room in the NFL from top to bottom. You're going up against a Jay Jettas, the best receiver in football. You're going up against a Jordan Addison, and by this time, you'll probably have a TJ Hawkinson back. And so I think that Seattle secondary, that Seattle defense will have its hands full. But if J.J. McCarthy, if he still needs time to develop, if he's not what he should be, then Seattle's defense should feast this game. A third straight NFC North matchup, and then this is Seattle's second in 3 weeks appearance on Sunday Night Football, which is dope. And then the day after Christmas, this is in Chicago, though, so it's not in Seattle, but at Chicago versus Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and the rest of that Bears team in prime time. Again, I think this is also going to come down to likely determining the playoff picture in the NFC. This is a matchup that cannot be taken lightly, and this is going to be a major test just because that offense is absolutely loaded. I think that offensive line could still stand to use some more work, but offensively, I mean, what is this Bears team lacking? Perhaps you could point to offensive coordinator, right? No knock on him, but Shane Waldron, I know a lot of 12s weren't necessarily happy with his performance here in Seattle, but man, this is definitely one of the games that I'm looking forward to. I mean, as y'all can see, Caleb Williams was in the thumbnail, right? And so that's definitely a matchup that I've highlighted. And to kind of see this towards the end of the year in prime time, likely to determine playoff positioning, this is going to be a game in which I'm going to need a lot of popcorn. I'm going to need a lot of popcorn. This is going to be, I expect fireworks. And, man, Caleb Williams versus Mike McDonald, whew. Man, we'll see what these guys are made of, but this is definitely shaping up right now to be one of my favorite games of the year. I know it hasn't been played yet, but maybe I could phrase it as one of my favorite matchups of the year. I will say that. If I had to create a quick list of my top 3 matchups of the year, I'd put this game on that list. So I don't know how you guys feel about this one, but I'm really, really looking forward to this one. And I think it was also perfectly placed in the schedule. Yeah. Okay, we got the Bloody Grimoire. I could be saying that wrong, so forgive me. Grimoire? I think it's that. Let me know if I'm wrong here. But week 17 should be fun as hell to watch. I cannot watch. And what they mean to say is I can't wait to watch. Oh, yeah. This could be the game of the year. This could be the game of the year, honestly. And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to, like, you know, what's the word here? I'm trying to phrase it right. I'm not one to spit hyperbole, but man, if Caleb Williams is what he's supposed to be with the weapons that he has, that's going to be one for the ages. I'm going to just say that. All right, you guys, week 18. This is the last game of the regular season. It is still TBD, though. We don't know if it's going to be on January 4th or 5th. Regardless, though, it will be that weekend, whether it's a Saturday or a Sunday. First week of the new year. This is going to be 2025, man. But at the LA Rams. Again, this could be yet another game that could determine playoff positioning, because I think that the battle for those last couple of playoff spots in the NFC, I think it's going to come down to the wire. And so if Seattle is still alive come this point in the season, this will be a very critical matchup. Yes, it's a divisional matchup, and yes, it's another chess match versus a Sean McVay and a Mike McDonald, but it's like, if a playoff spot's on the line, I expect Seattle to go all out. I mean, as you would expect any team, right? But I've already kind of shared some of my thoughts and sentiments in relation to the LA Rams and how I feel about these divisional games. But this is definitely going to be a game in which I expect this team to be fully locked in, fully bought in, and we'll see what this guy's made of. I brought this up earlier, though, but just a quick refresher. Weeks 14 to 18, and these are the games that we just covered, albeit briefly. They'll be very critical for Seattle, as that stretch will likely determine whether or not the Seahawks make the postseason. That's 5 straight NFC opponents to close the season. And if you're going to compete for a playoff spot, I'd assume you have to go at the very least 3-2 in that 5-game stretch, if not 4-1. Anything other than that, I don't know if Seattle's going to be in the playoffs, but obviously it depends on how Seattle starts the season. And so we'll see what happens there. There's obviously a lot to be determined, but weeks 14 and 18 will be very, very, very critical. And then if you haven't been paying attention, I know we kind of went through that fast, so forgive me, but the Seahawks will play 9 home games and 8 road games. And shout out to Reflect the Sun for bringing this up. But real quick here, and just a brief reminder for you guys, 2024 Seahawks preseason schedule. There aren't dates and times available yet, but what we do know is that the Seahawks will go up against the Chargers, the Titans, and then the Cleveland Browns. If you guys are planning on attending any of the preseason games, let me know. I'm going to try to be there as well. Obviously, the preseason has lost its luster. It's not nearly as popular as it once was. They're even talking about getting rid of the preseason altogether and perhaps just add another regular season game and then another bye week. So we'll see what kind of comes to fruition in these next couple of seasons. But this is the preseason schedule. Again, everything is TBD as far as the dates and the times, but the Los Angeles Chargers, the Tennessee Titans, and the Cleveland Browns will be on the docket. Whew. Man. Time flies when you're having fun, right? That's what they say when you're having fun. I've had a whole lot of it tonight. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in, to everybody that's going to catch the replay. I hope you've all had a great show so far. Excuse me. Thank you for tuning in. As always, you guys, I hope you have a very, very blessed night. I hate to kind of end the show as abruptly as I kind of am right now, but again, we have approached, or we've already eclipsed the 2-hour mark. And I know a lot of you guys are, you got things to take care of. You got school tomorrow. You got work tomorrow. You got business to handle. And so if you didn't get a chance to tune in here, again, this replay will be available for all to watch. It's also available on X, on Facebook. If you guys are regular users of those platforms, I don't just stream on YouTube. But yeah, man, I've had an absolute blast. If you guys have anything else, any other comments here, I'm going to go back to the chat one more time. We got my brother Larry in the building saying, "What's up, Steezy?" Man, what up, Larry? I don't know if you're just now hopping on, but I am about to wrap this up and call it a night. But Larry, I appreciate you for popping in, and I'm gonna see you this Thursday. But definitely catch the replay, Larry. I know you missed a lot. We talked about a lot. We covered a lot here, and I appreciate you for tuning in, for hopping on here. Thank you. But yeah, you guys, as always, man, peace and blessings. Stay blessed. Enjoy the sun, man. Get some of that sunshine, y'all. The sun's coming out. We gotta take advantage of it. Don't just stay trapped inside the house, man. We need some of that sun. We need to soak some of that up. And so I hope you guys have a very blessed night, man. Next week, I'll see y'all next week. I think I'm planning on going live. If not next Tuesday, it'll be Wednesday. It's either going to be Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not sure yet. As far as what's next, I have a Byron Murphy video that I do want to drop. It's not going to be live. I'm not sure when I'm going to drop it just yet. So like I was telling y'all, be sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss a drop. So you don't miss an episode, right, of Steezy Smith. So be sure to hit that notification bell. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Steezy Smith TV. And send me a DM. Just because I'm about to hop off now, send me a DM on Instagram letting me know you just followed so I could put your name down. I could enter your name in for a drawing to win some free Team Steezy merch. Whew. One more chat here. The Bloody Grimoire. I missed some of it, but great show, Steezy. Blessings and better days, man. Hey, thank you, brother. Thank you. I don't know if you're new here because I'm not familiar with the name, but man, I appreciate the kind message. Thank you so much. Blessings and better days to you. And yeah, y'all, I had a blast tonight. I'm gonna see y'all in the next one. Steezy out, baby. Again, this video is going to be dedicated to Mr. Todd Nas. While that concludes this video, we have loads of other content. You don't have to stop watching there. Other content on our channel homepage, as well as our social media platforms. And again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for us. Tell a friend and tell a friend. Nothing but love, and Steezy out.